most of the time will be spent in executive session. We want to review the leases, the financing as it relates to leases. Then we'll come back to the public session for approval of it. So you have an agenda here. We'll start with the first item is the approval of the board meeting of minutes of September 18th, 2020. You've all seen this, had copies of backup material. Motion on the floor.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Approved. Election of officers. Are there any comments? All right. We get a motion for the officers that we're electing. Rob Cole, Executive Vice President, Loida, Senior Vice President, and Jorge as Vice President Treasurer. Seconded? Seconded. Approved. Next item is the treasurer report, and as has been the tradition. Rob, you want to go through these reports?
Yeah.
So we get approval.
Yeah, so this is an annual tradition required by New York State. It's a report basically evaluating how the corporation's done versus its mission. We recast it this year, obviously, because of this big leasing and repositioning project we've been doing to kind of make that the focus. It was sent around to the Governance and Compensation Committee a few weeks ago. If anyone has any comments, let me know. Otherwise, we would ask for approval.
Any comments? All right. Can we get a motion? Seconded?
Second.
Approved. Any negative? Approved. Finance Committee report. Up.
Yeah, so the Finance Committee met March 18th with our investment advisor. Looked at the corporation's investment performance at that time for the 2024. We also had in attendance at that meeting our underwriters who are here today, actually, Ben Herbst from Goldman Sachs and John Carter from Siebert. They attended the Finance Committee meeting to talk about the upcoming 2025 bonds transaction. And they'll speak to that later in the meeting. Also attaches an agenda from the meeting, the Finance Committee. There's no board action on that committee. We approved that.
Yeah. Any comments on it? Next item is the approval of certain reports, the annual investment report, which I think we've all had copies of.
Yeah, so that one is in tab 5I of your book. This is also a state requirement. So in the attachment, you can see the status of the investments as of December 31, 2024. We've pretty much held to a laddered treasury investment strategy throughout. It's conservative. There hasn't been a lot of value in Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or other areas, commercial paper. The rates are pretty good, reflecting the enhanced interest rate environment, kind of in the 5% range. So that is, if there are any questions, on that. Otherwise, we would approve that as well.
Second. Next is the
Prompt
payment report. Rob.
Also an annual report. Prompt payment is kind of state requirements on how the corporation pays its bill. Generally, unless there's some issue with the bill, it's a 30-day bill payment requirement. As stated in the report, UNDC paid all of its bills on time, so there were no interest payments we had to make under the regulations. And request for approval of that report.
We get a motion on that.
Okay.
Seconded. Approved.
One more report is the procurement report. There's sort of an enormous amount of data that we have to integrate in space Paris online system on all the contracts. We provided a summary of the procurements we have here. It's really contracts that are currently open, by vendor name, status, award amount, how much was spent during the fiscal year, MWBE status, etc. And we would ask for board action to authorize the corporation to submit its procurement report for 2023 through the Paris system.
Any comments on it?
Motion or comments?
We get a motion on it, please? Moved. Seconded, approved.
There's also in that report, or that memo, there's just sort of a report on MWB and SDBOB status for 2024. We're fortunate we really hit the state requirement, 30% for MWBE, 6% for SDBOB. A lot of it was generated by our contract with Turner, where we've got an explicit 30% requirement in that contract for construction. So they've been hitting that target and should continue to be. So I think that's,
We got it.
we got that approved.
Approved.
Yeah. So the audit committee met on March 13th with our auditors, CBIZ, to review the results of the 2024 audit and the corporation's 2024 draft financial statements. In the board package, tab 6, there's an agenda from that meeting. And there's no action on that. But we will speak about the financial statements and the management report.
Resolution.
No, let me keep going a little bit. So just in tab 7 is a management report. It starts off with a summary of the financial statements for 2024. They were reviewed and audited CBIZ CPAs. Warren Ripple is there from CBIZ. So we've worked with Warren for a long time. Warren, do you want to comment on the audit for the year?
Yeah, I can just make a couple of brief comments. The audit went smoothly. We had good cooperation from management. We didn't have any findings or recommendations to report. We didn't have audit adjustments, didn't detect fraud. So everything that we reported to the audit committee a couple of weeks ago was all very positive. So we're in a position to be able to issue the financial statements in the next day or so, once they're approved by the board, and that'll meet your state reporting requirements.
There were no notes in your report, just for the record, correct?
Yeah, no management letter comments or significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control, no.
Thank you.
Well, are there any comments, concerns with the financial statements? We can ask for board for approval of those financial statements.
Moved. Seconded.
It does. There is also a resolution to set aside reserves of $6.9 million, and that's reflected in those financial statements. The corporation has surplus every year. There are city leases. If we do nothing, any surplus, 90% of it goes to the city as additional rent. From time to time, we've asked the city to, or the board has authority to set aside reserves for corporate purposes. And we're asking the board to do that again this year, the full amount of the surplus, which is $6.19 million. That approval requires the the approval of the two ex officio board members as well.
If I may interject, I want to introduce Rosa Kelly, who is Chief of Staff of HPD, who is now working, I think, together with Commissioner Tikhani.
That's right.
And of course, Oscar Maladin, who is representing City Planning Commission Commissioner. And we need approval of the ex officios in order to get this done. So welcome and welcome. And let's move on this item.
We need the money, right?
Yeah, we're keeping the money.
If not now, never. I think, you know, that we're including that in our budgets, right? That funding.
Sources, use of the fund.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no assurance that these surpluses will reoccur every year. We're going through approximately 4 or 5 year construction and reconstruction of these two buildings, 1 and 2 York Plaza. We estimate, and we've given to the state a 4 or 5 year program as it relates to surpluses, but we may be less depending how fast we lease up the excess space that's going to be available in these two buildings, 1 and 2 York Plaza in 2027.
How much of the building would be excess, George?
Approximately 120,000 square feet. In other words, we signed 2 leases, 430,000 square feet for the UN and 250,000 square feet for UNDP. And we have left approximately 120,000 square feet, mainly in DC 1. These buildings,
Time, right? They're gonna be using that as swing space.
they'll be losing swing space. The UN has basically keeping the entire building in DC 2. They sublease or they give out spaces from various organizations within the United Nations. Some are better organizations, some are other organizations that people question from time to time. But the UN has complete control, basically, of its building, both in DC 2 and in DC 1 UP. Really controls its own space. So I don't know where the surplus is going to be. So just to give you a heads up, I assume personally that for the next few years, we will have a very small surplus. But all that money, whatever we have, go back to the buildings, be able to do the construction, which I want to get into greater detail when we get into the executive session, especially relating to the leases and what's happening in DC or DC 2. So we need that resolution regarding the establishment of the reserves, 2024. And the audited financial matters will do it at one time, which we did already. We need banking resolutions.
Yeah, there's also banking resolutions. I'm going to introduce Kim White. Who are you, Kim? Who's the new controller of the corporation. She's been here since October, working closely with Jorge.
And Jorge has announced that he may be
Retiring in the next
June.
How long you want me?
As long as you're healthy, capable.
Jorge's been here 36 years, so let's take it.
We're gonna have
He'll probably retire for another 36 years, but it's been so, Kim has been here. She's got a lot of experience in budgets and running audits. She's been really instrumental in upgrading. We're moving to a Yardi real estate software system, which she's implemented and managed at her other positions, including at Related. So we'd like to add her as a banking signatory. And so there's banking resolutions included in this board materials as well. So I would ask for a motion on that.
motion on that, please.
So,
Approved, seconded. Moved. All right, we are at the point now, I guess, we'd like to go into executive session. So we'll talk about the leases and what has transpired with the United Nations and the financing and where we stand with it. And we hope to be able to complete financing at the end of April, which will include minimum of 11 years of working with the United Nations to be able to finalize this, and the UNDP. They will be expired in March of 2023. And we've been negotiating since 2021 or maybe 2000 with them to renew those leases.